My question to you, as someone that has 10 places that make amazing coffee, is it because coffee is this affordable luxury for a moment where we stop and you know, you see people look at a cup of coffee like my wife looks at a cup of coffee. You know, like they stare into it, and I'm not sure if it holds all the answers or if it's just the aroma. Have you ever?
I think so. I think one of the real beauties of coffee is it's a level playing field. Yeah, we can all have it. We can all enjoy a good cup of coffee. We can all learn to appreciate the difference between the varieties in coffee, and sort of, because the cost is not much difference. Like, you know, the difference between an average cup of coffee and a great cup of coffee when it comes to the single origin coffees and the quality and the varieties and the processing method, it's accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing about coffee, unlike wine or fine dining restaurants where, you know, very few people in the world would ever have had like a Penfolds Grange or, you know, or been to sort of, you know, El Bulli, the best restaurant in the world, or even know what that is. But coffee is just a real level playing field, which I think is a really cool thing about coffee. Yeah. And you go to a cafe and it's full of 20, 30, 50 people, and there might be a millionaire sitting there, and there might be someone who is you know, sort of living month to month in there. We're all the same. Yeah, I really like that about coffee.
Yeah, I do too now that you explain that one. So let's talk about you, the entrepreneur.
Okay.
How did it all start? So maybe we start, obviously you must be very ambitious for someone to hone their craft, to come third in the world in 2010. And then, as we already discussed, I'm sure the Australian Barista Championships is a super competitive marketplace, because people, if I win this, I'm sure I'm going to do all right. So how do you go from that guy that did the tour, fell in love with the way that this dude was in the white coat, roasting coffee beans, to competing, and then why Hong Kong? And then how did you start FINEPRINT?
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously a long story, and I'll try and keep it as short as possible. I fell in love with coffee, which is being a barista, and I really fell in love with standing behind the coffee machine. The craft of making coffee, it's actually not easy. Like the role of being a barista, it requires care and attention and detail, and it is a real craft, and I really love that aspect about it. And I really enjoy the experience of serving people coffee, and where they come up and they're almost surprised how good the coffee is. I take great pride in just that satisfaction of serving that craftsmanship and creating that cup of coffee and serving it to people. And when you make coffee that's so good, they come back to your cafe every day because of the coffee you make. That's I think that's why a lot of Australian baristas, I suspect, become a barista, because that same thing, that enjoy the craft. But my conundrum at that time, many, many years ago, I was young, sort of 22-year-old, was you don't make a lot of money making as a barista in Australia. It's a sort of a low wage earning job. So
I saw through university, maybe.
Yeah, a lot of people put themselves through university as a barista, you know, or that sort of thing. But I wanted it to be a career. And then at the time, another Australian, a guy by the name of Paul Bassett, he came first place in the World Barista Championship.
What year?
That would have been 2000, maybe 2003. Okay. I think he was a World Barista Champion. And that really inspired me.
Yeah.
And so that time I decided, I'm a very competitive person and a perfectionist. So I decided my goal is going to be to win the World Barista Championship. And so for the next 6 years, I threw myself relentlessly into the pursuit of the craft of coffee, learning everything you could possibly learn about coffee. Finding out websites to read to learn about coffee, watching videos, buying books, visiting coffee roasting. On my day off, I would some coffee roasting facilities where they would have me. I would go and just work there for free, just to learn from the coffee roaster.
Wow.
I would find out about, there's a coffee roaster in this suburb in Sydney. On my day off, I would drive there and go and visit. and just walk in the door and introduce myself. I'm Scott, I'm going to be the next World Barista Champion, mate. I was intense. I had an intense pursuit of the excellence of coffee, and then threw that into barista competitions. So I competed in the Australian, and I was just every barista competition I could find out that was on, I would enter and I would compete, and I just spent a lot of money on equipment and coffees and travel, and then my life really changed in 2006 when I was working at Toby's Estate Coffee in Woolloomooloo, and my friend rang me up and said, "Hey, the World Latte Art Championship is in a couple of months. I think Australia should send you because you're very good at latte art." And I was very humbled. And I said, "That's great. I think it's a great idea, but it's in Bern in Switzerland. I can't afford that." And Dean Morgan, the guy's name, he owns a company called Morgan's Handcrafted Coffee. He said to me, "That's okay. Well, if you're willing to go, we'll pay for you. We'll pay for your trip."
Nice.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Still to this day, a good friend. And so,
Pretty good compliment.
long story
short, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Pretty good compliment.
Long story short, I jumped on a plane. Actually, I quit my job. A few days later, I went to my employer at the time and I sat down with him and I told him about the opportunity and would you mind, I know it's really normally unprofessional, but would you mind letting me go so that I can go and practice for the World Latte Art Championship? And he was okay with that. And so we agreed to say, thankfully he was. So I spent the next.
Chase your dream, son. Was it?
Yeah. Looking back on it now, it's quite funny because it's not like, it's like winning a coffee making competition. Good pursuit to win a coffee making competition. So.
Sorry, just pause for a second. What's the prize money?
No prize money. No, there's no prize money. Just prestige. A gold cup with World Latte Art Champion and kudos.
Nothing. No, sorry. Sorry to interrupt. No prize money for being the world barista champion?
Oh, there might be nowadays. Yeah, it's grown a lot. Back then, it was. Yeah, it's sort of become more and more popular and more. It's become far more commercial nowadays. So, but this is 2006. So,
okay.
Yeah, no, but good.
Sorry to interrupt.
Anyway, long story short, I practiced a lot. Jumped on a plane, went to Bern, Switzerland, and I won. And so and came back to Australia, and I think a few days later I was on Sunrise National Television.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
So making coffee for Mel and Coffee on Sunrise, and the front cover of the newspaper, but that's a good sort of example of how much Australians love coffee. When you win like the World Latte Art Championship, or even if you win the Australian Barista Championship, you end up on national television. Yeah. I don't think that happens in any other country. It's so good, but it shows how much we love coffee. Yeah. So, and then on the back of that, I had a profile as a barista champion, and ended up with a great job in Sydney's Northern Beaches at Bellaroma Coffee as like the brand ambassador, and just traveling the world. Nice. I traveled to over 20 countries, just working in the coffee industry, just as my job.
Does that mean competing, or what do you mean working in the coffee industry?
So traveling to coffee farms, sourcing raw green coffee from coffee producers in Peru and Indonesia and Colombia, and Indonesia, Sumatra, and traveling to trade shows, getting invited to places around the world to judge in barista competitions, to talk, So in the world of coffee, if you do well in like World Barista Championship, where I came third, and you have a reputation of not just being a barista, you really have a reputation of being a coffee professional, because people in the industry know the lengths that the best baristas in the world take it to. It's not just about making a cup of coffee; it's coffee sourcing and coffee evaluation and coffee roasting and brewing and all that sort of thing. So and then on the back of that, I ended up in Hong Kong. I had a great job in Australia, full-time, like a great full-time job, company car, company credit card, international travel. But it was a bit like just boring. It became a bit boring for me, and I wanted a challenge.